So much for one video a month, I guess. Anyways, the important thing is that we're back, right? Today, we're going to be talking about this, the SX-70 Flashbar. And more specifically, we're going to be looking at some of the alternatives that you have to shooting these disposable flashbars.
Okay, I'm gonna level with you here. This video is probably longer than it needs to be because there's quite a bit of pedantic information that I wanted to include. But if you're just looking to make a simple purchase decision, all you have to know is that the Mint Flashbar 2s are the smallest package electronic flashes for the SX-70 cameras. There is no other non-disposable flash that comes even close to the size and the portability. But the trade-off for this portability is that the Mint Flashbar 2s produce around 2 stops less light than the traditional disposable flashbars, as well as the vintage electric flashes. Okay, that's the gist of it. Now, if you're interested in the pedantic stuff, on with the video.
So if you don't know what this is an original SX-70 by Polaroid, and these are basically the original form of instant film. And if you think about Kodak and Fuji making Instax cameras today, this is the grandfather. I believe this specific copy is from 1973. Shooting with this is fine and all. The look of the film is absolutely lovely, and the camera itself definitely turns a few heads when you pull it out. But the problem is that this camera and the film that you shoot with it needs a lot of light. The film sheets you shoot with this camera has an ISO of 160, I believe, roughly somewhere around there. And the camera itself is f8. So you can imagine on a cloudy day, you would be looking at shutter speeds of around 1/40th of a second. And indoors, it's pretty much impossible to shoot this without a flash. That's where these come in. These are the original SX-70 flashbars. The ones I'm holding right now is made by General Electric. They're essentially glass bulbs filled with magnesium. And when you fire the camera sends an electric signal into these cartridges, which pops the glass and exposes the magnesium to oxygen, and it burns at a very high temperature. And that's what gives you so much light for these cameras to get a proper exposure. The problem is that these cartridges are one-time use and they're really expensive. This specific cartridge on eBay goes for anywhere between 10 to 20 US dollars, which, given that it only gives you 10 shots, adds on to the already expensive film, which comes in at around 20, I think it's $20 per 8 shots. So you're looking at a rough cost of $4 per shot of SX-70 film, if you're shooting indoors, of course. So yeah, relying on these things as your only form of indoor exposure is terribly unsustainable, bad financial decisions. Anyways, this specific box is actually unopened as of thus far. This is a replacement copy that I got for another reason. So yeah, let's crack this open first. This is just a pretty regular unboxing. In the box, you'll find the Mint Flashbar, the actual unit, 2 color filters that you can attach onto the front of the flash. I don't think these are terribly useful. And then they also give you an included set of AAA batteries, which is nice. Not everything comes with its own batteries these days. One thing I don't like about these is that the battery cap is actually terribly difficult to slide on. They don't have much of a ramp at the front to help you push the batteries down. So you have to manually slide the batteries into the spring in order for the cap to engage properly. There you go. Now, what I've noticed with these electronic flashes is that the very first charge usually takes quite a long time to load. It takes a couple minutes for the very first round of flash to be ready. But after that, it refreshes quite quickly, usually 5-10 seconds if your battery is full. So we'll just give this a couple minutes to charge. Okay, so that's ready to go. Took about 30 seconds, which is actually faster than the last unit I had. But let's give it a test fire. Was that right? So yeah, it should take about 10 seconds to charge for the next one. Okay. Has it been 10 seconds yet? There you go. A little longer than 10 seconds, I guess. But yeah, usually the first round, the first charge is always the slowest. Now, what I'm going to try to demonstrate today is actually how little light this cartridge outputs. Not very keen on burning a charge on the disposable cartridge, but what I will do is I will compare it to one of these. I believe this is called a Nissin SX-70 flash. This is a flash that was built and sold in the same era as this camera. So these are actually designed for use with the old SX-70s. My understanding is that this still does not output as much power as the magnesium cartridges, but at least from a limited amount of my testing, this still outputs significantly more light, at least a stop and a half maybe, more than the Mint Flashbar 2. So that's something that I want to illustrate. I'm going to turn it on, and it does actually make a very concerning sound. Can you hear that? It actually sounds like I'm in a 1980 sci-fi movie. For reference, this takes 4 AA batteries, whereas this one only takes 2 AAAs. So I think, if anything, that probably contributes to how much power the Mint Flashbar 2 can potentially output. So for the purposes of this illustration, I'm not terribly interested in comparing it to the magnesium cartridge because that would mean wasting a cartridge. But at the same time, I'm not terribly interested in wasting film either. But what I will be doing is I'm going to be doing the comparison on a phone. So my plan with this is to basically use the Pro mode on the phone camera to create a very dark scene without a flash. And using the same settings, I'm going to create one photo where I flash this during the exposure, and another one I'll flash this during the exposure. That way we can get a gauge of how much brighter one flash is versus the other. And let's say we can use this cup as our subject. And I'll just shoot it, put it right there. I'm gonna turn down the studio lights. Hopefully that's dark enough. What I do need is an environment that's dark enough for me to get an exposure where the exposure time is slow enough for me to flash something in between. So I'm hoping to get 1 second. That's still way too bright. This is a fairly dark scene, right? We'll take a photo like this, and then we'll take the photo and fire it from roughly the same position.
The methodology here is fairly crude, but this test does show that the Mint Flashbar 2s produce roughly 2 stops less light than the vintage electronic flash.
Okay, so the story behind this specific flash, for me at least, is that these are basically the only electronic flashes that are made today that still work with the SX-70. But after shooting a little bit with them, I wasn't terribly happy with the result. I had to turn up the lighten adjustment on the SX-70 to get decently exposed photos, and I wasn't very happy with that. And after doing a bit of research, it seems I'm not the only one that finds these a little weak. There's a bit of online discourse about how these don't produce as much light as the magnesium cartridges. Now, if you guys are familiar with guide numbers, a typical, and I'm gonna stop myself right there. We don't need to get into guide numbers in this video, but I do want to take this opportunity to show you one more comparison. Hopefully one, it doesn't kill me for putting these in, but this first shot is taken in our kitchen using the SX-70 film and a disposable flash bar. And the second shot is also taken in our kitchen using the Mint Flashbar 2. And as you can see, the Mint Flashbar 2 is considerably darker in real usage than the traditional disposable flashbars. And for the most part, I can vouch that the vintage electric flashes are roughly the same brightness as the disposable flashbars. And while you can correct for this on the SX-70 cameras by turning the exposure dial 2 clicks towards lighten, I just don't think it's an ideal solution. And even if you're okay with the darkness, I personally think that the Mint Flashbar 2 has a bit of a cold cast to the light quality that I'm not very fond of. Yeah, this has been a bit of a rambly video. I do apologize about that, but I guess what I wanted to get across was that if you're looking into buying one of these, the Mint Flashbar 2s, just know what you're getting into. These don't serve as good replacements for the magnesium cartridges. They are kind of just okay. If you want something portable and reusable, they're great in emergencies, but you will need to crank up the light and dial on your camera in order for these to give you decent results. Personally, this is going to be my weapon of choice. Okay, so yeah, if you stuck through all of the rambling, thank you. Please remember to do YouTube things down there. And I do plan on making videos more frequently, so maybe I'll see you around. Thanks. Cheers.